discussing we discovered earlier, because of the way you set the cameras up this time, Matt has discovered that he can see himself in the monitor directly across. So I want people to be aware that he's going to be spending, no matter who he's talking to, he's going to be looking right there.
People will watch this show just see his retard who watches himself.
You haven't flexed yet. Go. Which way's the exit, Matt?
It's over there.
What do those biceps measure, Matt?
Oh, I don't know. Enough.
Okay. But, all right, have we started? This is something I wanted to just bring up. And Russell was asking, how long is this book, the Atoms, how long have they been together?
Hold on. Are we starting?
Jeez, are you recording? I was acting like an ass.
Quantum bombs.
Really? You just missed all of that.
Yeah, no,
That's
we were
how
recording.
all of ours start.
I just had to say, welcome everybody to Quantum Bombs, episode 5. Rex, you can go now.
Okay. So, I don't know, do I need to repeat just the fun we were just having, or anyway, whatever. But if that wasn't recorded, or it was recorded.
Everything's recorded.
Okay, good. But no, we were talking about population, and this is something that I found fascinating. Russell asked me how long this book has been. Would you say the atoms have been in the universe? Whatever. This was published in 1844. It's Physiology for Children, and it had some facts in it that I just thought we don't. It's the fruit fly thing we're talking about. We don't realize how different things were.
Physiology for children.
And I think what's frightening is that this was for children. They're going to give them these facts.
Well, hang on. Quick question. Was bloodletting a thing when that was?
I don't believe so. No, that was more the 1700s.
All right.
So
we moved past
but you
bloodletting.
there's some really ridiculous stuff in this. But the statistics that I couldn't believe, this lesson 24, the length of life. And now keep in mind, they're telling these facts to children. The length of life. The question is, do most people live to be old? The answer is no. 1/2 die before they are 8 years old. Only 1 out of 3 lives to 14, but 1 in 4 lives to 21 when this book was written.
Which was when?
It was written in 1839. So
Wow.
right around 1840. So what I'm saying is that if you're 21 years old, by that time, 3/4 of everyone you grew up with is already dead. And people wonder why the population is exploding. That's the difference that our medical science has made.
And when was that book?
Around 1840.
Okay.
But since that time, that's why. It's not just a question of people having more babies, but we not only did we live so much longer, but half died before they were 8. Could we even handle that statistic? If that was the way life was now, people would just be basket cases. If they're kids, half of them died by the time they were 8 years old.
Well, were they not basket cases back then?
I don't think so. It was just the way it was. They didn't know anything different.
Yeah, these are just facts.
These are statistics of that period.
I think that these people lived longer, but they had a bunch of child deaths that brought the average age down.
Well,
so, like, if you made it to, let's say, 40, your average lifespan was older. It was longer. You lived longer. It's difficult to get hard numbers on all this because obviously back then no one really kept good numbers.
No, they absolutely did. But the average lifespan in the year 1900, the average lifespan was 47.
Good grief.
So if you go to an old cemetery,
Mm-hmm.
like the one that is on a landowner we know.
It's on Tate Ranch, you're saying? It's on our ranch.
Let me give you the GPS for that.
If you go there's a ton of children graves.
Sure.
These are pulling the average down. So, like, if you survived childhood, and you made it into adulthood, then you lived longer.
I wonder.
So
how many people did that?
You're saying that the average age being 40-something, well, that includes all the 3-year-olds that are in the cemeteries and the infants too.
No, I know that infant deaths have never been counted. That's always something.
Well, maybe infant's not the right term, but I mean, let's say it's a 1-year-old baby. There's
Possibly.
one. You're averaging a number of one.
I'd have to find out. Well, I know that, so for instance, the lifespan now for a man is 79.5. That's the average.
Is it? Okay, cool. I mean, I was just looking at something today on Instagram. It was 76, but I'm sure it just depends on, that may have been old. So it's 79, right?
Exactly. But I mean, but 47. But see, even Yeah, but that was considered, I mean, old. I mean,
Well,
50
regardless,
But you
it's
know what's-
saying that all these people died, so that had a huge effect on
Well, it did.
population.
I mean, yeah, people did live to be 90 years old at the time. Sure, absolutely. But the fact
Rare.
is, when half of everyone died before they were 8 years old, that was that boom.
Half
That
everyone
it's-
died.
so
before
like,
they were
8
8.
years
So that
old.
would skew the average age.
I'd only have two
Well,
kids.
Well,
It's just
I
how
guess
many-
they wouldn't be alive to even be part of the average.
So they would actually not name their kids until they've
survived a few years. Why waste a name?
Yeah, well, no, they don't want to get attached to it,
no.
because
I've
if you had
seen-
a 50-50 shot in losing your child, like how heartbreaking is that? You wouldn't want to get it.
You know what? Here's what's funny. I'm just thinking back in my own family, and you guys might have this experience, but in my family, on both my mom's side and my dad's side, my grandparents had a child that didn't make it.
yeah,
So
our
on my
mom's side did as well.
on my mother's side, I think the baby died with like real quick, and on my dad's within a year or two. So and that was the 40s.
Do you,
Between 1900 and the year 2000, infant mortality rate decreased by 93%.
wait, say that again?
Between 1900 and the year 2000, infant mortality rate decreased by 93%.
So they got better at having them, or they got better in
Surviving,
keeping them alive?
keeping
them alive.
So many children used to die. I mean,
Of
just
what?
100.
Did
Just
you-
100.
what did that book say they were dying
It,
of?
it doesn't say that. Again, that was just the whole.
I mean, I know
cold,
that's
hard truth
my
of that time.
naivete or what. I mean, we've all watched old shows where we know the kids die young, but I'm kind of curious.
Well,
what
But
was
this is
not
why the
behind-
population's blowing up
Yes, but
because
see,
death's going down.
What do you call it? Antibiotics. When did they? I think 1947. I think, or I know. Yeah.
penicillin.
Well, penicillin
was,
specifically, but yet antibiotics did not exist until the. So basically, you could get an infection in 1940 and die from
Oh, I'd have been
from a
dead a
proper.
long time ago.
Yeah,
course.
kids were actually being proper, where they were out cutting their thumbs and climbing trees and getting into fun stuff. You know what I read the
And
other day
dying.
that was today that was interesting is
They were healthy.
if our average age is 76 or 79 and we call 50 years old middle aged, it's not accurate at all. You're middle aged at the age of 36 if it was 76.
Crap,
So
we're over the hill.
Well, but the thing they kind of do
Speak
like
for yourself,
sections.
Matt.
Somebody
I said
said
we.
it was like young age is till 25, middle age would be 25 to 50, and then old age
yeah,
is 50 to
so
75 is kind of
just think about everybody out there. Like if 76 is middle age for men, then 36 is your middle of your life. So basically, the point of the post was start living now.
Well, quite frankly, when I watch the news, I'm glad I'm closer to the end than to the beginning.
Actually, I was like kind of happy. I was like, I could say, I mean, I'm exhausted when I think of the length of my life. But back to your historical book. What is that? What was that book that you were reading us? What was the name of it?
Well, physiology for children.
Oh, Physiology for Children. What was the age? I wish I knew what age of children it was made for.
Yeah, apparently after 8, because there wasn't very many before that.
You want to hold that up?
All right.
Get it in the shot.
Oh, yeah. Get
no,
that. Hold
shot.
on. I forgot. Let me
And
see
it
which.
was printed.
Which
There we go.
this was written in 1839. This particular one was printed in 1844. It's not in great shape.
Isn't
but
that
it's,
nice?
It's,
This
How
is-
could it be
This is-
1844?
these are the jewels that you see when you walk into Rex's house. He collects
I
antiques.
just think it's fascinating.
All right, I see a second book you've got on the table for
Well,
us.
This is something I wanted to address Russell's intimation last time we were together of the possible. He was a little disparaging towards the courage of the Alamo defenders based on Goliad. So I had to look up and found out that Goliad happened 3 weeks after. the
Quantum
Alamo.
Bomb listeners have actually corrected me already.
You're kidding.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, we
Okay.
have. Yeah, I'm just.
Well,
happy to know we have.
I didn't say that. I said if it was before the Alamo, well, then that makes them less courageous. But I didn't.
No,
mean,
it was 3 weeks after. So it makes the Goliad guys less courageous because they already knew they were going to be shot. I mean, they took no prisoners at the Alamo, so why did they surrender Goliad?
Shit, man, all of that takes courage.
Oh, it's true. But this is something I wanted to point out. And this is what makes this relevant to modern times. If I can wait, someone say something while I look this up.
All right.
I like your shirt.
Thank you.
where were you going?
Well, I'll just read this chapter. Never mind. The comparison is worn and tired, but still valid. On one hand, the defenders of the Alamo all died fighting and were put to death immediately after the fight, which many people don't realize. There was about 7 survivors of the Alamo battle. They were just bayoneted the next day.
Well, you see that in the movie Alamo with Billy Bob.
Just the one, but there was actually 5 to 7 of them. Anyway, the garrison never surrendered, and the romance of the defenders dogged audacity in the face of undefeatable enemy grew into a now sacred legend. On the other hand, Fannon's incompetence put his men into a situation where they faced the same choice, surrender or death. They chose surrender, and they were killed anyway. Their deaths were ignominious at the hands of a tyrant, but they came about because they had submitted. Submissions are rarely commemorated by anyone. And when I read that, what I thought about was, what do we keep hearing? You know, like when Sleepy Joe talks about you can't take on the army and whatnot. So what do you do? I think it's more like, yeah, you don't just go, okay, we give up then. You know?
Well, they did do that in Ukraine, did they? I mean, they started handing out a whole bunch of guns, and
no, it's true, but I'm just saying
that's still going on, right?
Well,
yeah,
so
I'd rather go down fighting, I guess is what I'm saying.
well, if you're out of ammo, I mean, back then with how primitive their weapons were, maybe being out of ammo wasn't that big of a deal. The bayonets were maybe still somewhat effective, but like today, if you're out of ammo, like, I mean, you may as well surrender. What's the difference between being out of ammo and surrendering? Like, you know?
Yeah, what do you do? Put your dukes up?
Yeah, right, and you just get shot anyway. You pretty much, instead of your hands up, you just put your dukes up, and then you get shot.
But I guess the point being, though, is just you can't just say, all right, well, I guess there's no point in fighting because we're not going to. I mean, the Alamo defenders knew they were not going to survive. There was no chance, but they fought anyway. And I think that's kind of a lesson to be learned from, in my humble opinion.
And we owe them a lot. I mean, we wouldn't be here.
There wouldn't be Tate Ranch if it wasn't for the Alamo defenders.
Sorry.
What? But here, I can keep going while I'm on a roll.
Today's a little bit different. We just started rolling late in the day, so we thought we'd kick off without actually having an established things to talk about. But we have plenty to talk about, so it's our challenge on today's episode to just wing it and roll with it. What is today's date?
It's the 10th.
Yep.
June 10th. What's happening in the world?
Something related to war that I wanted to talk about in the was the leaflets that there's apparently artillery that's being used. It was used in Mariupol where I guess they shoot up in the air and they explode in the air, and they're not meant to be lethal in any way other than to blast out these little things that the
propaganda
enemy soldiers can read.
That's been used for a long time.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I thought, how bizarre. They're bombing leaflets in Mariupol with the surrender. This was...
I might have some World War II stuff I could bring in.
Like
the Japanese would drop stuff that would say...
They used to drop them out of bombs, too.
They would say stuff like, oh, you know, while you're out here fighting, your wife is at home with the neighbor, with Johnny the neighbor, having a good time. And, I mean, they're trying to psych you out.
See, but then that's obvious propaganda. But like in Mariupol, they were having terms of their surrender on the little leaflets. I thought that was so crazy. We're just going to load a artillery weapon with a message since we're not communicating in any other means. Like, can't call them or hit them on the radio.
Wait, so
you know they're listening to each other on the radio track.
They wrote their surrender conditions on an artillery shell, which is like a bomb or what?
Maybe y'all could explain it better, but there's it explodes and like brochures explode and
brochures of their surrender.
The artillery
request.
shell looks like a hollow
town.
tube. It's like a hollow tube.
Okay.
And it has a cavity that's packed full of these brochures, and then there's a time delay fuse on the front, so that when they fire this thing, the timer is kicking down, and they know about where it'll be, and it sets off a small ejection charge that blows those leaflets out the back of that canister, and then they just fall to the ground.
So it is. So the front of it sounds like it could still be.
Oh, the front of it's still going to take your head off if it hits you. I mean, it weighs 50 pounds. You know, it's whirl into the earth.
It's a win-win for the Russians.
Well, they're shelling them anyway. Yeah,
right.
It's a double.
Yeah, we killed one guy sending you a message, but
we started firebombing Japan, I think, in March of '45. And what we would eventually do was we would go over the city. We would drop leaflets that said, we are going to firebomb your city on such and such a date. It says that observe the power of your enemy and your government's inability to protect you. And they would literally warn the people like that, just and kind of like let the people leave. The first time they didn't leave, and then after that they did. So,
you're saying we did that?
Yeah, we did that. We would warn them.
What country does that? Like, hey, listen, so we're going to blow you up on this day. You got plenty of time to get out. They didn't do that. Did they do that for Pearl Harbor? Did they tell everybody, hey, listen, we're coming in to blow up your Navy?
Quite the opposite. But they apologized for that just about, 20 years ago.
Oh.
That they hadn't declared war before they... that was a mistake. You know that, right?
That makes it all better.
Is that the ambassador in Washington was supposed to deliver a declaration of war like, I don't know, a certain amount of minutes before they started bombing.
What happened? He went to the bathroom or what?
No, they couldn't get it translated in time. They took time. They delivered it after they had already bombed. And Japan it was a very great disgrace for Japan that they attacked without a declaration of war.
Really? I didn't know that. That's why you're on here, Rex.
Yeah, well, there we go. I have my purpose.
So
Yeah.
a year ago, would you have ever thought that we'd be fighting a war in 2022 where I think leaflet bombs were like still being used?
Oh yeah, I think old technology is going to be around. There's some old technology that's going to be around for a long time. Just think of the basic explosive devices that they're using in war right now. There's no replacement for some of those things anywhere on the horizon.
Well, it's always fascinated me that what the first thing we started doing was the Chinese invented gunpowder.
Yeah,
And we started lobbing little hunks of metal at people.
yeah, we're still doing it.
We'd load it down a barrel, tamp it down, boom, one at a time. Well, now what do? We lob little hunks of metal at people really fast, but we're still doing it
with a new gunpowder, but it's still gunpowder.
The technology, or the concept is hundreds and hundreds of years old. But we're still doing
This
it.
is essentially just a competition, right?
Who can kill more faster, or lob metal faster?
It's not always like who can occupy. I mean, sometimes it's about land, right? Who can occupy this land and be in control of it? And to do that, you have to lob some metal at them first, and or, I don't know. Sometimes not. Maybe just to show a force will get them to run off.
It's just like getting the chickens out of the chicken pen, really, with a stick. It's like you got to corral them into the house, so you whoop them around a little bit, and they run in there. They're doing the same thing, but on a country scale.
Bigger stick.
Know?
That's what Roosevelt said. Carry a big stick.
It's just like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have to sometimes, or chase them and like grab them and throw them in there. Because if I don't, then the coons come and eat them at night.
So have people forgotten that like the whole Ukraine war is still going on?
I have until you tell me about it.
Yeah, I definitely think
God,
so.
that's crazy.
Their virtue signal was hard, but then it
faded
gets old a
quickly.
little
Waned.
bit, And some people have updated their profile pics. Some just haven't been active
I think
on social media. But yeah, no, I'm kidding. I mean, obviously I'm being cynical, but yeah, I mean, I do. I feel like our support is as thick as if it's in the news cycle, they support it, but then they forget if it's not in the news cycle. I mean, what is that?
Well, what's big and hot right now? I mean, I haven't turned the news on. I've been so busy.
well,
January 6th, but I don't feel like talking about that.
Well, what's big is now is guns, guns, guns.
no, it's gun. It went from monkeypox to gun control
It
season.
did. And that's a historical thing I wanted to mention. I was talking to Beth earlier, and to you too. I mean, you know the phrase "shot heard around the world," right?
Yeah,
What is that? You know,
it started the revolutionary.
the first shot of the Revolutionary War.
There you go.
Which and what were the British doing when we started firing them? What were they there? It was
Mostly a peaceful protest, I think.
yes, no. Concord, Massachusetts. They were there to confiscate guns. That was the beginning. That was the spark that set off the American Revolution, gun confiscation. The Texas Revolution, the flag you see, come and take it. What was that about? The first shot of the Texas Revolution was because the government was coming to confiscate guns.
For their safety.
Well, yeah, well.
Who's the
Well,
government?
no,
safety?
yeah, that's
Yeah.
I'm
good
just
we
saying,
point that out.
the two revolutions on this continent, the catalyst that started them off was gun confiscation. It's just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, and I think it's important to point out that, like, in that situation where America was created, all Americans would agree that's a good thing. So, I mean, avoiding government tyranny I don't know. Today I was editing our last episode teasers, and I really liked thinking about it, and I was able to write a good summary, which was, okay, so we pointed out there's 56 million people killed by government tyranny in the effort to take their after taking their guns for their safety, and 56 million people have died in the 20th century from democide, which is government killing you. Russell made the point about, Matt said, and this is great, so I'm like, I really like rethinking this. There is no gun control, just gun distribution, which is basically who wants the monopoly on force.
Oh, yeah, they
and
don't give them up.
Try not to just be a Debbie Downer and say gun control, blah, blah, just to kind of beat the same stick or whatever over and over again throughout the years. I think it was really important to say, okay, look, if you really want to address gun control, you first have to address fear of government tyranny or fear of extermination by government, fear of democide. Because that's really what guns are for, right? Like, it's actually because we don't want someone to. So how do you do that? How do you build trust in government? And Russell made the joke last week, like, haha, how do you make the 99 is pure, but the 1% is bad? You're still going to have it. How? I think is actually by making the government smaller. And we don't talk about that as much as we used to back in the day. Like, if government was smaller everywhere, I think that would be a step in the right direction of actually
Well, everybody's response
trusting
is
government more.
there should be a law for that. There should be a law for that.
Yeah,
that
and
ought to
it's
be
making
illegal.
It bigger.
That ought to be illegal.
It bigger, and it's making it bigger. Yeah, so I think if you want to start really talking about gun control, you have to trust the government first. So who is going to hoard all the force? Who's trying to hoard the power? There shouldn't. It should be evenly distributed, right? So then there's more trust.
That's what people used to know. And that's why at Lexington, or Concord rather, that was they knew, they said, we can't, once they get the guns, it's over. And the same in Gonzales. They said, once they get the guns, it's over. They had to draw the line there, but people have lost that. It's the phrase that can't happen here. People don't, they're so far removed from history. They think it can't happen here.
It can't happen here. What's on Netflix tonight?
Exactly. But people don't understand that if they were to disarm the population, that's it.
Well, I think, like you said, this is what it's for. But really also, if you can't afford private security, well, then what's the DIY version of private security?
Mace, a whistle, and your cell phone.
Right. Okay.
Horn.
So also, a lot a lot of people can't.
Mace, you say that as a joke. It's not even allowed in New York in some places.
Really?
Really? So what do you do?
I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
You just
call
can't defend
not- you
yourself.
call
on
But
that.
there's a
okay.
lot of common things you'd think that is like not allowed there. So
Well,
I know
in
my
Canada,
nephew in Brooklyn, he got arrested
In
for having a
certain
knife on him.
places.
I was driving into Canada a couple years ago, and there's a big sign at the entrance, and it said, obviously it says no guns, but it said no knives, no slingshots. I mean, went on all this stuff, and my kids were taking spoons and like flicking rocks, and they're like, "Look, Dad, we're breaking the law in Canada. We're flinging a rock. Like, where does it end? Like, no slingshot? What the hell are they talking about? No slingshot? That's David and Goliath stuff. You can't sling a rock in Canada.
So a lot of people in the cities, they don't actually understand that people that live out in the county, like, it might take 15 minutes for the sheriff to arrive, a deputy sheriff to arrive. So like, what you have, like, who else is going to secure your property?
Well, none of that. Let me give you an example. So I did a thing out in the desert, and people were confused about what it was, and they called the law on me. And I had an army tank out there and a bunch of troops walking around, so it looked kind of weird, I admit, but it was a leadership camp. But anyway, I saw the Coast Guard airplane flying over, and they were taking pictures, obviously. And I got the call, hey, come back, law enforcement wants to talk to you. And it took them over an hour to get out there on the highway. And then they flat out told the locals, like, we don't even know how to get back there. Where is this place? And so I had to send my person to go get them and escort them in.
yeah,
So
it's
in the
definitely not a
event-
place you'd
So
call
in the event I
911.
needed them,
You
like
need-
911, I'm
yeah.
being attacked. These people have shot
but
me.
also for the listeners to know, when you're in Brewster County, that's I think the largest county in Texas with only 9 sheriffs on hand.
Oh, it's pitiful.
People walk with guns on your hips. There's plenty of places in Texas where people walk with gun on their hip. I mean, you see it here even. So, but there, people are like, oh, why would you do that? It's life or death. If you do not have a gun on your hip there, and you see an animal or hog or
a criminal.
someone sadly that comes over the Mexican border, your life is at risk.
Or not
So-
even. There's some people out there doing some hard drugs, man.
Anyways, I don't think people do realize that like guns are used.
Well, we used
and
to
needed.
we used to be an agrarian society and rural, and now like 90-10, and now we're 90% urban, and so we only have a small percentage of people that are rural.
Are we really 90%? Is it that heavy into the cities? I thought it would actually be like 60-40, 60 rural.
I think so.
No,
that's
cities
why.
are
That's why,
packed.
like New York and
just my
state
guess.
is screwed
Have you
because there's
driven
so
through
many
them?
people in the city.
Okay, but my point is, we just need to. So it's only this small fringe minority group of rural people,
Wait.
and we just need to eliminate them, and then we won't need guns.
Oh, that's us though. So I need to be eliminated.
Yeah, hold on. So actually, I don't think it's 90-10. I would actually argue there's more people in rural America than there is in the urban area. And I used to live in LA. Like
Well,
no.
let's think about Houston, like if
6 million people now, or
Right, but
Google
if
Earth
you-
and
10
look.
million
if
with
you
surrounding.
include all of the outer suburbs, like that all counts as urban. That's not
Yeah.
rural. When I say rural, I mean
I think
like,
America's
you gotta be out
mainly
this
rural,
far.
though. I don't know. I could be wrong.
yeah, most area you look at is rural. The people are all condensed in the cities.
We'll put it this way:
Right.
it's a lot
No.
different than it used to be.
I mean,
it
we-
used to be all.
Hey, can
all
you look
rural.
this up?
Okay,
I know.
it's going to be
sorry.
difficult because where do you draw the line?
Between
Between
the word
Yeah.
rural
Urban,
and urban.
suburban.
See what the
Just
Oracle
duck, go
says.
search it and say you know,
Duck, go. You're a racist.
No, actually, I don't even want to promote them. They did sell out, and they've had a lot of bad press lately.
Oh.
Yeah, they've decided to sell our data as well. So.
Oh, well, no, thanks for telling me that.
Okay, I could be wrong on that, but
No,
I'm positive they had some negative news. I just don't know specifically if it was that they sold our data.
Yeah, DuckDuckGo's bad now.
So yeah, I don't know where else to turn, guys. But
well, you shouldn't.
I'm
I'm
not
going
endorsing
duck
them.
You shouldn't even be using. Start with your browser. Get a Brave browser. Brave has a search engine as well. So if you have to, at least if you want to use Google, do it at least on a Brave browser.
A Brave browser. What the hell is that?
Who else?
So what we use to interface with the internet are called internet browsers. Google Chrome is one of them, one of the most popular ones. Internet Explorer.
So there's one called Brave browser?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
So on mine, I have Google Chrome, two versions of Brave, Firefox, which is they claim kind of to be privacy oriented, Microsoft Edge, Internet Explorer, and Tor. Tor would be privacy maximalism.
Yeah,
but
I use Firefox.
It's so good, it's like slow.
What about Bing?
Oh God, they died.
What about Yahoo?
I love you, Rex.
They died like 10 years ago.
Matt still holds on to a Yahoo email. I love it when people are, I love
I've had
you
it
guys.
I've had it for
information.
23 years. I've had my Yahoo, and it works just fine.
Wow, I love it.
Okay.
Big old government eyeball right
Russell,
there on you.
You are actually doing excellent. You're multitasking. I'm sorry, guys. My computer's literally dead, so it's just me and this switchboard today. Oh, speaking of switchboard, I hope you are enjoying this.
So you got to be watching on video to appreciate what she's doing.
Yeah, sorry. I'm hitting our panels.
Hey, I just had a thought we're talking about. You're talking about redistribution and call 911. Aren't these the same people who are calling the cops racists and defund them?
I think they went through that cycle. They defunded them, and they found out, that wasn't really a good idea. So they're funding them again now, I think.
So now police are good again?
Well, no, they're not good again, but they're funding them.
But they want them to have all the guns, though.
All right.
Yeah, they got guns.
What'd you come up with the population
But they also have
thing?
people trained in de-escalating situations. Actually, and I agree with it. I think there needs to be some people out there that go to that insane person, not a crazy guy with a gun or a knife, but people that obviously don't need to be shot. They need mental help. There needs to be somebody that can go to them.
Be a nice, defuse it before it gets bad.
And you got to know what the difference is. I mean, there's a guy standing there with a shotgun. That's a different call. There's somebody standing there screaming and pulling his hair out. It's another.
I'm sorry. Back to Russell.
Apparently, she wants to have a conversation at the same time as you guys.
I didn't.
That doesn't work in a podcast.
Okay, so we only need to. So, to solve this gun control issue, we only need to eliminate 17% of the population.
So,
is that rural?
According to the internet, in 2020, there were approximately 57.2 million people living in rural areas in the United States compared to 272.9 million people living in urban areas. And if you do the math, it's 17% are rural. So we only need to eliminate those folk that think they need to own guns. And then in the cities, we can have the police protect us, and they'll be the only ones allowed to have firearms.
They'll all live happily ever after.
So what is 100 minus 17? Is it 83, 84?
Well, minus
83.
20 would be 83.
So 84% is urban, and so it's 1,700 holding strong to their guns. And
17%.
I'm sure they
bitter
do just
clingers.
fine. Bitter clinger. I'm just kidding.
Actually, so one thing I hear a lot of conservative commentators say that the left is losing the gun control debate, but I don't know if I believe that. Like somehow firearm ownership is becoming more popular even within the left.
Well, I think there is.
It did during COVID.
during
I think
COVID,
people are
yeah.
saying, even after COVID, I think people are looking at how crazy the world is, and they're like, okay, buddy, you turn in your gun, but I'm keeping mine.
I do know people in the left. This was back when the Obama scare was happening. They were like, "Hey, I think I should go buy a gun."
Yeah.
They didn't want to tell anyone, but
Right.
yeah.
I saw that. I've seen that before, and I think that's what's going on. I think people are saying, yeah, I'm watching the news, and things are bad, and something needs to be done, but I'm not giving up mine. And, I mean, let's be real. Let's blow this up. There's Tyrannosaurus Rexes running out there, but you shouldn't have a gun. There's these people you call. They might be there in about 45 minutes, and they can shoot the T-Rex, but you got to give your gun up. Nobody would do it. Nobody would do it.
Well, I think
sense.
I think as soon as there's some form of significant gun control implemented on people that already have them, how many people are going to lose theirs in a boating accident?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
What was that little funny meme that it was just like, I saw it on the internet, like, you know how people, it was a meme that was made after the news broke that people were voluntarily turning in their guns to virtue signal. And so it's like, I'm turning in my such and such. Is no one following me on the meme? Sorry.
Well, hang
I
on.
don't see it.
In that same parallel, why hasn't anyone put together the maximum virtue signal would be either a gun buyback or gun confiscation / send the confiscated guns to Ukraine?
Well, that's a really good idea. Guns for Ukraine. Let's get rid of them in America. Send them to Ukraine.
Yes,
And then they can send them back when we need them.
because
That's
we're
brilliant. You know why it wouldn't work, though? I'll tell you why it wouldn't work. Because if you ever look at a gun buyback, everybody brings grandpa's old piece of shit rifle that's 50, 60 years old with a bunch of wood on it, like this junk sitting around us.
These
and they
are-
pass it in, and they get like $200 for it. They didn't take the AR-15 off the street. Nobody's turning in their $1,500, $2,000 firearm for $100. They're not.
And
It's feel good. It's
these
all it
are-
is. Feel good.
These are airsoft guns, but keep going.
Yeah, well.
For those that aren't watching, this is also video recorded, and she's referring to what's surrounding us, our airsoft.
Guns.
Yeah.
There's some paintball guns in here, too.
Yeah. Okay. And some paintball. You're right. And Matt does host events out at his property quite often for
Beth,
the
so-
airsoft and
Themed
paintball
events.
guys.
So
Yes,
for people who
Russell?
are listening only, how would you go about watching this?
Oh, you could find us on YouTube, Rumble, and Odyssey.
And Rumble is the more freedom-oriented platform. I don't know about Odyssey.
Yeah, it is. Odyssey actually is. Don't know if we're auto uploading it to there, but Rumble's auto uploads.
Speaking
you
of
very much.
platforms, Quantum Bombs is now on Sphinx for those
Oh,
yeah.
yes. No, Russell, please tell us about that. So, yeah, go to quantumbombs.com. You'll see everywhere where we're at on all the applications. But more cooler is we're working on getting into the Web3 world. And you could definitely support us there by streaming us Satoshis on a lot of the applications that allow you to do that.
And when she says we, she means Russell.
Yeah.
Because we don't know
basically.
Web3.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she hired someone out to set up a Bitcoin Lightning node, and I don't have anything to do with it. It's probably on like Tor. So
Oh, I'm so smart. Yeah. What other places could they do?
okay.
There's like 3 main apps that are like Web3 based that will allow you to stream as Satoshis.
Well, that's not true. So as far as audio only modern podcasting apps, if you don't know if you're listening on a modern podcasting app, if you have to, does it have the ability to send and receive Bitcoin on the Lightning Network? If it does, then that's a modern podcasting app. Or is it also a Bitcoin wallet? And if your podcasting app is also a Bitcoin wallet, then I would say that's a modern podcasting app. There's about 8 of them, and they all can stream Satoshis per minute. Or you can choose 0 and just listen for free, but it's called value for value. And you get value and you send value with no third party or no advertisers. And the 2 that I would recommend to start with is Breeze or Fountain. And there's another one called Sphinx Chat. And you create tribes on there, and then the podcast is on there. And but you can stream on that one too. And you can send paid messages and stuff like that. So if you want to send hate and you want to make sure that hate's going to get read, well, the more you send, not only, the more
Oh,
you
I
know that
love
hate's
that.
going to get read, but we're going to feel that hate even more with the
I
more
know.
you send.
You can
And
hate
I'm
us all.
sensitive.
I would love for people to want to stream us a lot of Satoshis so they could tell how awful we are for sitting in a room surrounded in airsoft guns.
Yeah.
What he's actually mentioning, a lot of people don't realize podcasting obviously is really big right now, but the pod father, is it Bill Curry? What's his name?
Adam Curry.
Adam Curry, the pod daddy, the first guy that invented podcasting. It wasn't Joe Rogan, as we know he is the most popular. It was Adam Curry, and he 100% streams his podcast only audio, right?
Yeah.
But he's very traditional, and he streams Satoshis, meaning you could tip him in Bitcoin. And what that means is streaming Satoshis is a really small increment of Bitcoin. So you could set up your phones to be like every minute, donate us like 0.03 Satoshis, which like over an hour might add up to like a 10 cent donation.
Oh my
So
gosh.
it's really cool. I mean, you say that, but what he's talking about, and we're going to rewind back
No,
to this
that- you
episode,
don't-
5 years from now, I want to bet, and hopefully, because this is actually decentralization for the better in social media, all of the problems, all the bots, everything we're complaining about on social media is instantly fixed. Because if you want to make your like and comment to me matters. Like you said, if you want to send me hate comments like, oh, this show is so dumb, you actually are going to pay to get that seen. And if you just want to send me love, you're also going to pay. So, and it's built on money. It's social media. Everything is built on money, and everything is value.
I just
Tra-
want everybody to know
traded
that for
value
$1 million, I will shut up.
Look. So you're
Yeah, no,
scoffing.
seriously. And yeah, we will get love tips and and I never thought about hate tips, but you know what? I would love for people to hate me too, all the way to the
That
bank.
means 4 million because
So you're-
I got to have a meal for
But
myself.
see, you're scoffing. You just scoffed at like 10 cents. But what you don't realize is when you get on YouTube and you see 5 seconds of an ad and skip through it, like that's a fraction of a penny, right? But that adds up when you got millions of people doing that all the time, constantly. So yes, it isn't a lot of money, but it's still at the same relevance as what's going on with Web 2 and their advertising model. It's just the difference is it's instead of the Web 2 platforms getting the money, it's skipping the advertiser and all that and just going directly to the content provider. So this is the future of content.
I'm excited about it. It is. It's the future of social media. It cleans out all the bots. It cleans out all the stupid stuff.
Well, y'all can send this to Rex because Rex was in West Texas once, and he dug through my trash can because the workers had thrown a few cans away and dug through there and then drove it back 9 hours. And I think you collected 26 cents or something.
Just if you saw a quarter on the floor, would you like you would?
Yeah, but
most
no, he worked like the bags were tied up. He opened them up, and
you have to be a little bit better at math. So if you take $1 million and multiply it times 10 cents,
see if you do that 1 million times.
Yeah,
I don't like waste.
One last point is like in the comment section, like there's different types of trash comments everywhere, but like I'll get a bunch of heart emojis from 100 different men, which I mean that doesn't really
that always works.
Spruce up, like doesn't really enlighten anybody's life. It makes me feel special, but someone can only receive so many heart emojis before.
Can we talk
it's
about
just normal?
the
But
genitalia?
now, if you're actually I don't get that many
what?
penis pics in my comments,
Penis
but it
pics.
happens to everybody. It does.
You're gonna get them.
Yeah, everybody send Russell a dick pic.
Oh, thanks.
All right, so one thing that we maybe could jump into, it'd be fun, what?
Okay, so I think it's worth pointing out how this happened,
Okay.
and it's because, so you know how like was it Kodak or Barnes and Noble, like these old-fashioned stores that didn't adapt to the internet, they went out of business, right?
Yeah.
Well, the Bitcoin Lightning Network I think is happening. You can see like a bunch of companies are jumping on board with the Bitcoin Lightning Network, and if you don't, you're kind of going to go down as if you didn't adopt the internet. And Beth saw this, and she was really concerned, like, hey, quantum bombs, we're not on the Bitcoin Lightning Network. We're going to be obsolete in like 5 years. What can we do? Okay, we got to get on the Bitcoin Lightning Network, and that's how it all happened. So now quantum bombs has adopted
I am an excellent producer.
I know.
I mean, when I say that, I'm talking about like Walmart, Target, like,
Yeah.
or better yet, Meta. So if you didn't already know, Facebook tried to launch their own cryptocurrency called the Libra.
Which supports the metaverse, right?
Which I think is on
It
Odyssey.
failed.
It's so weird.
They got regulated, and they weren't decentralized enough. Obviously they were going to create it.
I bought some
so
of that. It's
basically
gone.
the
The
Bitcoin,
Libra, it's gone.
I lost my money.
If you bought Facebook, there was never a point in time where you could have bought it. So this is why I know you.
I don't know. I bought something.
You
Somebody
bought
said it had something to do
something
with
that
Meta.
started with L, right?
No, it was something to do with the support in the metaverse.
Well, Facebook renamed itself Meta, so it's kind of confusing now.
Yeah,
but
actually-
Meta has
So
made
did-
plans to build on the Bitcoin Lightning Network.
the
Okay.
geeks didn't accept them into the community, or was it? Or when you said it wasn't decentralized enough?
Okay, so if the federal government can bring somebody before them and have them, appear before Congress and say, yeah, you can't do that, like, who are they going to bring it out of the Bitcoin community to stop? You're going to dig Satoshi Nakamoto up and tell
No,
him, and
so
he's
how
going
did it- how
You
did it
can't
happen
stop
then?
some. Well, Facebook is centralized. You bring the Zuck, you can bring him
Yeah,
in front of
no one wanted-
Congress, and he was like, oh yeah,
Wait, they
and
did
he-
bring him in front of Congress to talk
Yeah,
about this?
yeah.
Oh, and wait, so they were wait,
but
hold
they
on, let
loved
me
him.
follow this. Congress is regulating who isn't decentralized enough in the cryptocurrency world. Am I understanding you correctly?
Well, yeah. I mean, maybe the SEC is probably doing that, but
Oh.
I don't know the details. But they couldn't get off the ground due to regulation.
Well, no, I'll be honest. I mean, how is Zuck? He couldn't find more of a tool bag nerd. I'm so surprised they haven't just replaced him with someone. I mean, this is me being mean. Sorry, I shouldn't be mean. I should try to find my higher conscious.
He drinks
self.
water funny.
But
You watch him when he
All
was
right.
before Congress and he was drinking water. He was drinking.
Beth, you're blocking Rex.
No,
Don't do that.
I'm just recording what my issue with this new camera angle. Would you like to see the picture I just took?
Get the.
sorry, everybody, we're laughing because we're just, I haven't figured out this studio of ours yet. So every time we've kind of changed tables, we've changed cameras a million times, we've changed software. It's been tough. So
It's a work
today
in
I have an
progress.
angle
It's a
of
work
Rex
in
where basically if
progress.
I just want to push my hand out, you can't see Rex. It's a work in progress. But hey, so let's jump into a topic maybe haven't got a chance to talk about yet, but I think it might be cool. Something that's kind of come in and out of the news is AI. I know Russell's had a couple things to say about it. Matt and I were discussing it this past week, and you brought up some really cool points.
Well, I would say that I watched Elon Musk talk about it. I mean, I'm sure everybody has because he's sounding the alarm about AI. He's saying that if we don't do something now, we're going to be in trouble. And I totally understood what he meant when he said that we cannot wait to be reactive. We have to be proactive. And we can't be reactive in the way that we've been with everything else. And a good example is the Department of Transportation. So the reason we have the codes for the Department of Transportation is because of dynamite being hauled on trains back in the day. You know, dynamite was invented in the 1860s, and there were little plants that sprung up all over the world, actually, but in the United States, and people would manufacture dynamite, and they would haul it all over the country. And salesmen would go to new mines and say, "Hey, buy our dynamite. It's better than the other guy's dynamite." And there's some really interesting stories about this. One instance was a salesman had brought some dynamite, got off of a train, went to a hotel, and in the process of manufacturing the nitroglycerin, they didn't wash it good enough to get the acid out of it. And if you don't do that, it'll actually start to degrade and can have a runaway reaction, heat, and then potentially blow up. So while he's sitting in the lobby of this hotel, his suitcase starts having red fumes smoking coming out of this thing, and people alert him to it, and he freaks out and he grabs it, runs and sets it out in the street, and runs back, and the thing blows up out in the street. So it was about to blow up in this hotel lobby, and instances like that were happening in transport. They would load up cases of dynamite. They'd be going down the train tracks, and something would happen. A whole train would blow up, and so they would have, this went on for years, and then they started putting together committees to research what can we do to stop this, and then eventually they put together teams of people to come up with legislation, and they start these laws and they implement them, and now we have the regulations that we have today. What Elon Musk is saying is that you cannot use that system, which is the same system we use today for everything. Look what they're talking about with gun control. It's like people are getting shot up, and we're talking about, so we weren't proactive. Yeah, well, you could say, okay, people had guns. I'm making a broad statement here. But we're generally not proactive about things. We're reactive to things. So we do stuff. There's a problem. We analyze it, and then we get government involved, and it takes years to implement these rules and enforcement teams to keep this in line. With AI, it's not going to work because you don't have the time. Because by the time AI does something we don't like and we fart around and get this organization together to analyze our problem and get a committee going, the AI is already exponentially flown through the roof with whatever problem it presents. And that's what he's saying is, I'm talking to the president. I'm telling everybody I can, we need to be proactive about AI, because once this gets out of the bag, we will never put it back in the bag.
Okay, I'll be the ignorant because I am. What is the threat of AI?
Well, hold on. I think the perfect example for you to kind of picture how fast AI is, because he told me this, was the chess. Chess example.
I'm butchering this completely, but basically they took a very good chess player, like top of the country, put him up against AI, and AI beat him. And it wasn't long before AI was beating the best in the world. And then it wasn't long before that other AI came in and could beat that AI. And we were talking 5 minutes, 30 minutes, something like that. So
on the point of, so humans are self-destructive, right? Mm-hmm. So, we try, but we still fight and go to war, and we still eat bad food, right? We're self-destructive in almost a lot of facets. And AI will know that don't hurt humans. Human life is valuable, right?
If we tell it.
If it knows that we're valuable, but yet we are the largest self-destructive thing to ourselves, it will then immediately govern us, but at such a quick rate. Good. And if AI is mapped and networked as computers, like our computer networks are, in an instant, it could turn against us for our own good, and it would almost coordinate it. Think about it. Chess is the ultimate battle, right? So I think it may have won faster than that. I can't, because me and your son were talking about that today, actually, Kelly.
It's going to blow away anything you think of.
So it could quickly just make a plan in order to protect us, since human life is precious. It could then put us in a glass box in an instant, to not harm ourselves anymore. I don't know. That's just my
Well,
thoughts. What are
well,
your thoughts, Russell? I know
well,
you know a lot more on this subject than all of us.
What was your question, Rex?
Why?
I don't know what is the threat of AI.
Okay,
That's a perfect
You actually
question.
gave me a great example there.
What is a threat? An anthill is a colony of ants that are out there. What are they a threat? Are they in threat of us?
Are they in threat of us?
Are they?
Are
Are
they
their
threatened
lives
by us?
Are their lives endangered by our
absolutely,
presence? Right?
potentially.
Potentially.
Yeah.
But let's say I want to build a road from here to on the other side where the anthill is now. Is their existence is it in threatened?
Well, if you're going to build a road, then yeah, we're definitely
Right. Okay. So AI is kind of what he was talking about. Is AI is incredibly way smarter than we would ever be. So they may not care either way about our existence. We're just like ants to them.
It's just going to take the logical route.
If we get in their way, there's not. It's going to be about like that anthill versus us.
It will become the dominant species, is what you're basically saying, and we will be, either. But if as long as we're not in their way, we're fine. But then if it has,
Okay, that's yes. But then another way I think she was kind of getting at is if you program AI to, let's say, maximize happiness for all human beings, we don't know if they're going to rationalize that as a human would, and what if they think that means inject as much dopamine into our brain as possible and have us live in a pod.
okay,
Because they define happiness equals dopamine. So how do you get as much dope? So like if they're so logical, so that would be it. If they're so logical, they're just like,
No, that's very true. Actually, they would give us the right amount of dopamine based on like the maximum.
But I think the larger conversation I would like to have is if AI was, if we were just meant to be a seed to develop AI, like if let's say there's a universe.
Deep.
If there's a universe and there's a bunch of planets and that life evolves in the way life evolves is by just chance, right? Like evolution is very slowly over time. The things that work survive, and the ones the microevolutions that don't work die out. And so the ones that work keep procreating until you end up with what we have. That's very slow until life gets smart enough to design something that is like synthetic life, which would be AI.
That's a quantum step.
And then So now you go beyond advancing from the evolution, the old-fashioned way, and you go into the quantum evolution. And it may be that the wetsuits that we wear and the earth suits that we wear, like all we're just progressing to evolve to AI. And that's all. That's like it's a foregone conclusion. That's
So
where we're
we're
going regardless.
we're potential Neanderthals, and we will serve our time, and then something
Yeah, and then
better than us will take over.
Yeah, and then AI could become self-aware and conscious and all of that, and then you get kind of like what the Matrix 3 or whatever, right? So
Man, nobody saw that a long time ago. Like, how's this story going to end?
the Matrix.
That we just grow into this.
No, well, I'd even heard years and years ago they said that it's possible that actually DNA is what's actually meant to go on. We're just the vehicles that carry it. I don't know where that came from, but I mean, it sounds like we think we're it. We're the end all and the be all. Well, maybe we're just the thing that's here to introduce
the AI.
AI.
Yeah.
Well,
but it
George I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
George Carlin, when he talked about Earth Day. You ever hear his bit on Earth Day? When he said, how do we know that the Earth just didn't want plastic and didn't know how to get it? So that's why we're here. And then when we're gone, it'll be the Earth plus plastic. And
I do like that. You're
yeah.
right. How do we know? I guess the reason I like that you're taking it that far, Russell, and I think Elon or many other people have talked about what if this is a simulation side of simulation. But I don't think that, well, I guess just me personally, but that leaves out God or infinite intelligence and its design.
Not
And I don't think he
necessarily.
really designed, well, okay, I'll have to say this. My perspective is pretty limited upon our causal body, which is our idea thought matrix that's covered by the astral body of light, which is covered by our meat suit that we wear when we're here on this planet. But so that's my limitation. And I know that those three bodies are designed to live in three worlds, and the other two are the astral heavens. So, but, we got earth, astral heaven, and then causal heaven. So I don't know how being in, you're saying, like a robotic matrix, I feel like that would almost be kind of a mixture of the astral world and the causal world, because the causal world is is thoughts and ideas, and the astral is an energy, is a light-based vibration.
Well,
substance.
then that would mean there's
So-
one more evolutionary step past that, and that would be to drop the physical completely, because AI is still going to be dependent upon a physical source of energy
A
somewhere.
physical covering of some.
Well, physical realm. They don't. It's not just thought. It's not just information. It has to have energy from somewhere. Whether it's the sun that'll one day burn out, heating up, working with solar panels, or it's nuclear reactions, which at some point, some massive distance in the future, that would all be gone.
But that's in this physical world. We need the sun. There's dimensions that don't require
that's what I said.
the sun.
It's
okay.
That would be the next evolutionary step past AI. So if we're at a step that goes into AI, then after AI would be the non-physical.
Now that I think about it, what Russell is describing, I think I get it now, is if we go into this electrified thought matrix, we're only discussing that here on planet Earth. And so actually, I guess it could fit into my understanding, which is because, again, I don't know how that thought matrix, though, loses consciousness. Like the consciousness is actually just tied to our meat suit right now while we're here in Earth. Like anything's obviously possible in the astral and the causal worlds. More so, I say possible because we're unable to measure them from this physical existence, and most of our consciousness can't comprehend it. There are humans that can. Okay, but you're saying this computer body is maybe what we were designed to do versus being a meat suit.
Well, no, we are the seed. Like if you plant an acorn seed, like it looks nothing like an oak tree.
True.
So it grows. Yes. Did I get my trees right?
Yes, you did.
What I'm suggesting is the human beings are the seed, and what we're going to grow, what we're building is AI, and that's what the tree. So
we won't become that. It will replace us.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
will we like it?
No,
Apparently
I don't think
not.
so.
Well, you will.
Hey, but
I don't know. I mean, like, why would the seed build a tree if it didn't like it?
Didn't
I mean,
mean
just
to.
in his acorn example. I don't know. I'm trying to understand.
well, is it
trying to get more
dystopian
into
or
it.
not? I mean,
If you watch nature, stuff gets washed away. I mean, something new comes in and the old gets washed away.
So what's creepy though is we're building both AI and humanoid robots. Tesla is Elon Musk says that he's going to have a humanoid robot like within 2 years.
Oh, they're going to. If you look at the sex industry and how far they're coming with these the
Dolls
skin
in
and
Japan.
all that stuff, they're really realistic.
Okay.
So apply that with take AI. Take those two technologies, put them together, and someday you will have to ask somebody, are you humanoid or are you human?
I told your son that today. I said, you will see it in your lifetime. I do want to point
You
out,
won't
at
be
least
able to
with
tell.
Elon,
Right, no.
being that we're an avid fan, and is that he says, I mean, he basically points out, like, yes, he's probably one of the top 5 people on the planet that is contributing to the AI race, but he's also the one that, like, keeps tweeting out, hey, these are like 3 books I've read that really warn you on AI, and then actually, like you mentioned, he actually tried to involve the government beings, and they're all snoozing on it. Of course,
no one's doing it because it requires a complete shift of the way we operate. We operate from reaction as opposed to proaction. Like saying, guys, it's like the first guy that invented dynamite should have said, you know what, transporting this is going to be a problem. They didn't do that. They're like, money, and they made it.
I was
Start
just
shipping
going to
it.
say, in fact, I don't really think we'll ever change. Like, I do think our societies will always run on capitalism-ish first, money-ish first. Maybe in the few hundred years they'll change, because in my personal religion, things do get more enlightened as the years go by.
Well, the best example I've ever like to use for reactionism is, why are there enough lifeboats on ships now?
Because the Titanic.
There we go. 1,500 people drowned. They went, oh, you know what? Let's put enough boats on there.
for everybody.
just a thought.
Yeah, why did that happen? They're like, how many lifeboats do we need? Enough for everybody? Nah. I mean, that'll never happen anyway. Just put a few.
Lifeboats were based on tonnage. They said a ship that weighed more than 10,000 tons had to carry 16 lifeboats.
What's that got to do with the people?
Yeah, hello, nothing. The Titanic weighed 46,000 tons, but it was more than 10,000, so they had 16 lifeboats.
That how many people were on? How many people did those 16 lifeboats?
Well, they saved 705. There was 2,207 people on the ship.
Good grief.
I think the problem was it went down in really cold water.
Except for one guy who studied Wim Hof. He stayed alive
cook.
for like 2 hours, right?
Yeah,
He went forward in time and studied Wim Hof.
Well, he got drunk and he knew how to breathe.
It is kind of
really,
yeah.
That's, no one knows why, but everyone froze to death. But this one guy, he held on to the side of a lifeboat until someone died, and they threw him off and they pulled him in. But he was there for a long time in the water, where everyone
Breathing.
else, somehow he
like
did
this.
it.
Let's do it.
Yeah, they said it was because he was drunk, but I think that alcohol makes it worse, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
it does.
Yeah.
So that wasn't it. But
He overpowered it.
Well, there you go. Anyway, there's a little more history for you.
Yeah.
Well, so I feel like on the AI, we skipped too far past into the extreme because what we're going to be experiencing.
It's going to get there quick.
No,
Well, yeah.
we went straight to superintelligence because some people would make that distinction AI or narrow AI and then superintelligence, or superintelligence is like what would destroy humanity, where narrow AI is just going to drive your Tesla car. But I think the narrow AI it's going to be here pretty soon, and they're going to do the jobs nobody wants to do. And so, eventually they're going to start replacing all of the jobs, which people think is bad, but not really, because the cost of all the goods and services is just going to plummet. And so everyone, it won't take much money to buy.
I got a dumb question. What are all these people going to do?
They could get creative. Some of them. No, you laugh.
Well, I agree,
okay.
but some of them. But what do you do about
creative
people
meaning
that
like
are not
create
creative?
art? Like I'm actually trying to, because I've thought about this too. Okay, some of them can actually create art, which we all know will bring them happiness, bliss, and they will really be happy people.
You'll get some
Like you're
watercolors,
saying,
you lost
for
your
the
job.
30% of people that aren't creative, and nowadays you can create art and sell it on the internet. So I actually think this is viable.
It's going to be a shitload of art on the internet.
And well, you're right. But if things are
And the
cheaper,
price will
there's
plummet.
But no, if the things are, you are kind of right on that too, Rex. I'm just trying to weigh it out in my head. But yeah, so some people do have a little bit more money because the cost of goods went down. They might be able to support these artists that have transitioned into artists, but what else could they do? I mean, that's a good question.
that's a tiny
the
percentage.
bigger problem, I think, is going to be substance abuse, because if you're
They
left
get bored.
if you have so much free time,
They're going to rock that bus.
some people are gonna be great, right? They're gonna be freed up, and they can just do their hobbies, and they'll be able to enjoy if they like alcohol, they'll do it in moderation. But some people won't. I mean, so yeah, substance abuse.
There's something to this, because whenever I meet people, I've studied a guy, and he talks about the 3 magic questions. One of the questions you always ask somebody is, what do you do? And people identify with their job. They identify with what they do. When you ask somebody, say, what do you do? And they say, I'm a plumber. I mean, that's a plumber. There's so much more than a plumber, but they just identified their whole life with, I'm a plumber. You take that away, it's a huge problem. And I don't have the studies and everything to back this up other than just sitting here looking at this, knowing that people do identify with what their task is. And you take that away, and I see that there's going to be a problem.
I think that if we were to address it properly, we could get to a society where we educate the youth growing up that you have to develop a daily routine. Let's say healthy things would be gym, go walk in a park, but you would do these seemingly boring things, but you would come up with a routine where maybe you live nearby a lake, and if for 4 months out of the year you go there and you swim a lap or something, and then after that you go eat lunch somewhere, and then after that you just come up with a daily routine. And I think people would need that. And then so we're going to have to teach humans look, a healthy lifestyle, you gotta have this routine that you get up.
But I'm going to need
Actually,
more.
you'd have to create the normal balance structure.
So
people take
when
this
you get up,
one,
what are you going to do? Well, what do I do every day? I go walk to the lake. I take a
It would
swim.
drive me nuts. That's
First-
called retirement home.
I need to jump
No.
to something. Is that what have we been talking about?
Matt-
The great. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, Matt doesn't need it. You could go be creative in your shop and make one of those crazy things you got out there. You don't
Make
need
a
it. You're
table.
not someone who needs that. So
But yeah,
I'm just pointing
okay.
out people that are people that need something.
Remember the derpers, remember the vast majority we were talking about, and you were clearly on the fringe of the opposite of that. But yeah,
I'm derping now.
I struggle with it. I've been self-employed a long time now, and it's hard, working by yourself without a structured day. And I think when COVID hit, that kind of changed everything for me, because my only purpose in life was to wake up, go meditate at temple, then go to Starbucks and catch a coffee. And without those two experiences in my life, I wasn't seeing people. Anyways,
I
so
get
structure's
it,
needed.
fair enough, but people
And
are going to want
you
more.
can
But I
have
want
a
to hear what
menu
Rex
of
was about to say.
structure.
Because I think what we're missing is this. You just was kind of wait. There's an elephant in the room. What have we talked about? I need to stay with the mic, don't I? For the last 2 years, we've been talking about the great conspiracy theory, population reduction. And they talk about the useless eaters. You've got the ones up here who run everything, and then there's this massive group, the vast population that they consider to be superfluous. Well, you're just saying, well, right now they are going to be able to replace us, the masses, with this type of stuff. It seems to play right into it. We're not going to be finding stuff to do. We're going to be eliminated. They don't need us. Why would they need all of us down here eating up their resources and using their fuel when they've got this AI and stuff that can do everything that we could do?
What better to eliminate us with when those AI robots that like Boston Dynamics? You ever seen the 4-legged one? Like they already have those with weapons mounted on
They're
it.
creepy
Really?
looking.
Oh man, yeah.
Well, I'm just saying. It's
Like
just that we're not going to be here to have a system.
You're gonna get taken out by a robotic dog with like a 50 cal mounted on its back.
Yeah.
What a way
Guns are bad. They're going to outlaw those.
Suppressed.
No, they're gonna-
well, not the killer dog though.
Exactly. Just redistribute them to
Oh, that's
killer
right.
dogs.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, it just makes
Well, yeah,
makes sense.
but
They're not going to let us sit here and just use up resources and not accomplish anything.
Well,
What, you
resources will
think
be.
so?
So that's the
Wait,
whole
so
point.
you're saying that without getting our tax dollars, you're saying? Like,
They won't.
why do they care? Why do they care what we're doing?
They don't, because first of all, there's this idea that number one, let's get rid of all the people in the Midwest, give that back to the buffalo. We'll have the wealthy that have their areas, and we're superfluous.
I
we're,
think the
we're
hunger-
polluting the ocean. We're what?
The Hunger Games did a great job depicting like where they had the elite and they dressed in these stupid outfits, and then they had
stupid.
the Hunger
You're
Games were
right,
literally
and
to
the poor people got to
the poor people. Yeah, they played in the games just to entertain the rich
That's
people.
gladiator stuff.
Yeah.
Oh man, the cycle of humans. You're right. We do need the AI to come in and sweep in and just put us in a box.
I actually had to like have someone explain to me, several people before I was like, okay, most people probably are like this, but I have never had a trouble. Like if I don't have a job, like I was just fine. Like I stay completely busy and productive without a job, just fine. But like I've had to have people explain this to me, but like, no, man, I gotta have like,
Structure.
Well, that's why that whole thing about you will own nothing and be happy just doesn't sit well with me.
because you'll go make something, then
Because
you'll own it.
I want to make something. I think it's inherently in us. We were created by a creator to create. We create. That word's used a whole lot. So I like to create. I think we all like to create, and I think that hell, look at this whole existence we have. It's about creating. I mean, you have this drive to make babies and go on, and plants are creating, and everything in nature is creating and trying to keep it going. And we take it to a higher level, and we're creating AI that might uncreate us. But but creating is a big deal. And I think when you take that away and you say, okay, go walk in the park, go play golf, watch some stupid TV show, that goes back to the stuff that a lot of life coaches are talking about now, which is you're not looking for some destination. It's not this place where you're sitting in a robe and they're popping grapes in your mouth and fanning you with feathers. You don't want that. You want to find your happiness. Your true happiness is in that struggle and that climb. And so this routine, maybe I'm one in a million or something, but it's not going to work for me.
Well, so I've actually seen a small part of human society at a consciousness festival that I went to, where you just have a bunch of like tents and booths and stuff, and they're not really selling anything; they're just doing stuff. And at one of them, unlike the manly end, like there's literally somebody using old technology to do blacksmithing, and he's
that's
like
cool.
hammering out like some piece of metal that I didn't stay there long enough to see what he was making.
Right.
Point is, he's creating something, he's making something. And you go a few tents over, and they're like have colored sand, and they're like drawing on it.
Yeah, they're making something.
But I'd like to think
This
like
is in Europe too, so everybody's speaking different languages.
this
and
is in
imagine
Ozora,
the
Hungary.
vibe. Oh,
Yeah, you can do that on my ranch in West Texas. I'd like to say that.
So
We'll have a what's it, Conscious Festival?
a consciousness festival. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
we
not
should
what it's
host
called.
one.
This is
But you-
Ozora Fest in Ozora, Hungary, about an hour outside of Budapest. Shut down since COVID. I think they say they're actually going to go through with it 2022 of August. But anyway, the point I'm making is I would like to think that we could get to like a level where the entire human species is just realized you have to be good at creating hobbies, because because we're living in abundance and we don't have jobs and goods and services are really cheap.
that's kind of what I was getting at with the art.
We learn how to just create hobbies, and we make a bunch of more hobbies, whether it be drawing in sand or banging on a piece of metal making something, and then we create all these hobbies or relearn them, and then we all figure out which ones we're going to get into, and then that's what we spend our time doing.
That's kind of what we do now, if you think about it.
No, we spend our time driving to a job we hate and fighting traffic.
Because somebody's got a hobby, they started and they hired people to start making that hobby, and people go to work so they can afford that motorcycle they like to drive. That's their hobby. I mean, people kind of do that.
Yeah, you're right though. We are doing the 9 to 5 thing.
And what for?
Well, yeah, that's that whole paradigm of life. Like they work to live or live to work. But
Making money for the man.
Because I own the food.
What? Where's the cricket thing? Hit that cricket.
Because somebody is out there that owns the food, and they're like, well, I'm going to make people work for that. I don't know. It's just
Oh yeah,
Well,
I had a point. One thing I was thinking on the Russ. So I do believe we will get there as humans, where we have figured it all out. And we finally decided to stop rocking the bus and fighting each other just because we have it so good. After that, the first problem we have is that, Matt, you're like, oh, I like to create, and obviously I do too. But created this wonderful, amazing shirt I'm wearing, and the same Matt's also wearing one of these shirts. And we'll continue to wear these shirts. You can buy them at bet.tv. No, I create a lot of stuff, but the problem is, and I struggle with this, is, my moods and how I feel every day. And so, your gut health determines your mental happiness level.
microbiome.
We have my microbiome. We eat fake food. We live in a fake world. We're given fake virtues. We're taught fake things to bring us happiness on the internet. So I actually think we would have a creativity problem only because we're kind of out of touch with happiness and creativity. Well, anyway, you can watch my 10 Steps to Happiness on YouTube.
We're also
I
talking
plugged that
about,
simply, but yeah, go Rex. But yes, I do have a video. Go watch it.
You're talking about our society too. Like you're describing these people in Europe and stuff like that, and how now they do their hobbies and well, over here there's another group and other groups that aren't up there, doing this, and it's like basically they think that because you exist, you're a problem and you need to be killed. So I think once we're all have this utopian society where we're all doing our hobbies and whatnot, well, that's when Hannibal comes over the mountains and he just rolls you over. I mean, you've got to get the entire population of the planet.
You got to blow a loud horn at him and he'll stop.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just saying is that there are people who we've kind of stopped talking about them lately, but they want world conquest. And since you don't believe like they believe, they think you should be either enslaved or killed. And it's like, so when you're picturing this utopian, everyone does their hobby society, you're forgetting a lot of people aren't even interested in that. They want you dead.
They just want you dead.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Oh, you're right.
No, I had someone who posted
it's true.
this.
I'm glad you're. First, when you said that, I thought you were talking about like the people that are just eating rice off the ground. But then I'm okay. I do forget that there is certain extreme religions or people. I'll just call them extreme people, right?
I've always thought if you could teleport, the way you think would be completely different. Imagine if you could teleport right now to some very poor country, and somebody is living in a tin shack, and their truck pulls up with some rice from the UN, right? And they're running over there to get their food, and a warlord pulls up with a 50 cal and just starts smoking everybody because they want the rice at their camp. And you see these little kids, horrible things happening. And then all of a sudden you teleported to Malibu. And somebody got up that morning, they stretched, they're going to do their yoga, they're going to walk their dog, they're going to get some coffee. That's all going on this same rock floating through space.
Yeah.
And the difference is so vast that people can't, the people that are getting up in the morning that drink their coffee that really think they know, oh, I've got the answers, we've thought this through, and you haven't thought, you're so barbaric that you would think like that, Rex. That very moment, just separated by a matter of distance, that's it, is somebody suffering the consequences of somebody not having a firearm to protect themselves, or maybe they're in a place where they were taken away for their own safety, or whatever the case may be. But it's a very different reality, and I think we would think different if we could see that. If we could just instantly walk into it instead of going through the process of a week-long travel to get there. You could just be there, you see this stuff, you be over here, you see how it is. It's so different. That's why travel is really important. And I'm glad you guys travel because the perspective you get brings a lot to the table.
No, I always said when I was 18, I mean, going to the Soviet Union was the most amazing thing because it was during the Cold War. And we thought that, well, here's this great power and here's this great power. When I went there, I was like, holy crap, it's a third world country with a massive military. But it was such an eye-opening thing to see how they live, but also to realize that, I'm talking to our enemy. And they're just like us. They want what we want. They want their kids to be happy. And it was good to sit and hang out with them and talk to them. And anyway, travel is ideal, but can you do it? I mean, because that's the point I was making, is that you would not believe, like where we're sitting here, that, there's...
Right now, on the other side of this rock, somebody's getting murdered for some rice.
Yeah.
And we're sitting in air conditioning.
Yeah, or starving to death.
Yeah.
Well, I thought about that when I was living in that trailer out at the farm. I told you that. I was kind of complaining because I was living in an RV. But I was sitting there taking a hot shower and looked up. There's a light over my head going, I'm taking a hot shower in a tin can on a farm, and that's better than probably 1 billion people are living on this planet right now.
Yeah.
You know, and in contrast, too, I want to say I was one of those people that did live on the beach in Malibu for 8 years. And
That's so
I'm
cool.
going to let out an honest thought. I may have told you this, Matt, but I mean, it's actual honesty. As an actor and self-employed TV producer, you're not always working. And there was days I wish there'd be an earthquake or some type of major catastrophe, so my life literally would have change.
Just be interesting.
That was obviously when I told you I had some lonely moments
you had
when
that
I was
routine.
developing some of my TV shows. No, I lacked the routine, but I mean, I still tried.
routine.
But,
What'd
look,
you
I've
do? You
always
got up in the morning and
structured.
did what? You
For
got
me,
up and
I'd go to the temple, I'd meditate with the monks in the church for 45 minutes. I'd go get my Starbucks. I'd talk to as many people there as I could. Sometimes I went to the gym. It just depended. And then from there, I would develop my TV shows, etc. You know, looking back now, I know exactly what I should have did different. I should have worked at WeWork. I should have been more outgoing. After one of my managers had passed away, I didn't get another manager. You know, things are tough. But I have to say, when things were cush and I'm living on the beach in Malibu and, you know, my bills are paid, life's easy, all I had to do was create. I was still sometimes lonely enough where I would just wish something would happen to my life. Like I remember how bad it sucks to go through a breakup and have a heartache. And I was like, but at least if I had a heartache right now, I'd have something.
Goodness.
So yeah, but this goes to show, like, remember we were talking about the cush people, like we have it so good, we tip the bus. Meaning like I had it so good that I was still needing something to happen to me because I was bored.
That's why it's good to be right in the middle, just above the
Yeah,
port, or
I'm
just below the
admitting this only
Malibu.
because I know
I'll float right there.
I know that. I mean, that's why I say the way I'm programmed, and I'm getting better every day with my spiritual practice and just awareness. But it is tough. Like I've always had to consciously make sure my life is balanced, or I'm not going to be the optimistic Beth that you know me to be.
Russell mentioned the Matrix. And I think one of the most amazing points, or the most important points it makes in there, and we've talked about it, is they said that when they created the Matrix, they put people in this utopian society, and and our bodies, we rejected it. We couldn't handle it, so they had to create the Matrix to have problems and issues to deal with because we can't handle cush. We can't handle.
It was
comfort.
too dang cush.
It was
my
too good.
my oatmeal latte got up to $9 at some point, but besides that, a little bit. Cush.
When have we ever had comfort? You know, if we evolved over hundreds of thousands of years, when have we ever been comfortable?
Nothing like we are now, but we are.
Right. So we're not. So my point is, we're not wired for comfort.
True.
That's
Well,
my
look
point.
what happened to Rome. Man, they got the upper echelon got real comfortable, and what happened? It's the same cycle over and over. What happens to people when they get really comfortable? It's not like, have you seen him? 10 years after getting really comfortable, his life is really taking off. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
It's funny to see the work with I was always intrigued by some of the Marines that work within UXO, and they're just houses. And these guys, you see pictures of them when they're in the service, and they're just these beasts and these fighting machines. And then, they get out and retire, and they just turn into blobs. And
so is modern life for most people is a scam, right?
Oh, that's deep. Go
That
into
is
it.
deep. I didn't have the camera on you. I'm gonna redo that for the sizzle reels on social media, Russell.
Take
Just see
two.
here. Yeah, take two. Try to be an actor. Do it real natural. Look at Rex again. Say it again.
Modern life for most people is a scam.
explain.
Good.
Well, most of them have set up like a life where they just have to like get up, work a job they hate. I mean, then the weekend comes. You watch a movie, you do a load of laundry, and it's Monday again. You get up and you do it all over again.
Holy cow. That's hell, man.
Yeah, I've lived it. But
He
like,
hit home with that laundry, didn't he?
Yeah.
so, yeah, for most people, modern life is a scam. It's so if you're not actually using modern life to do all these amazing things you can do and travel, which is one of the most amazing things, I think, you just get on a plane and fly anywhere easily. You think what we had to do in the past, get on a boat, risk your life for like a month to get across the ocean.
Right.
But yeah, so I mean, I don't have a solution other than just gain financial freedom and then do what you want. But yeah, I just don't. For most people, I just feel like it's a scam, or a better way to put it is it's a gym membership, because there's all these amazing things you can do, and you're a part of that. It's a gym membership that you pay for, but you don't use.
Yeah, and people have to come to that conclusion. A lot of people, like we've talked about before, are just totally fine with it. But those that aren't, they need to know that the clock is ticking. When we started this podcast, we were talking about, would you say, Rex, half the people died before 8?
Yeah.
Okay, so I saw something that was pretty cool. I actually thought about it, and then I saw that it had been created, which goes back to the whole monkey sphere quantum thought we had a long time ago in several other podcasts. If you think it, somebody's doing it. But I wanted to make tablecloths that had 100 years worth of calendar on them. And have you guys ever seen those little calendars that they would give you back in the day? You'd stick it on the dash of your truck, and the month is literally like 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches, and you could see every day plainly. So I wanted to take 100 years and lay it out on a tablecloth, and then you scratch out however many years you already are, and there's only 100 there, and you probably won't even make that, and you see what's left. And not only can you see what's left, but you can see every individual day clearly. And I thought that's something that I need to have, because every day you're looking at that clock ticking down, and you don't know when it ends. And you cannot, I mean, it's like a wake-up call to everybody out there. That's reality, not your job, not some crappy relationship you're in, or your bills, or mowing your grass. That calendar ticking down is the reality. That's the only thing, when you come down to it, that's going to matter. And those days are being wasted with that, exactly what you said, which was the scam of modern life, getting up and going to that job. They're not living. And to me, it's a travesty. And if I had anything that was worth a damn that I ever did in my life, it'd be to shake a few people, pour water on them, slap piss out of them, wake them up, and they started living better lives. Because I think somewhere down the road, whether it's with the AI or whatever it is, there's going to be that spark of that Spartan humanity that stands up and says, I want to live. That's going to be needed. And I don't mean live as in breathe and eat food and take a dump. I mean live. That hope, that spark needs to go on, and we need to be encouraging each other and lighting people on fire to get it done. And I don't mean with a flamethrower, but in the spirit.
So more evidence, though, that modern life is a scam is like a hunter-gatherer society. You can read about how much they actually did work. It's not a lot. They had a lot of leisure time.
Yeah.
So I would argue that for the most part, their happiness level, even though if you look at their living conditions, is far lower, they were just happier.
They had a lot of time. Look at a spearhead. Have you ever find arrowhead?
Oh, God.
Think about what it takes to sit there and make one of those bad boys.
Yeah. Probably just sitting there, shooting this,
Yeah.
chipping away. Yeah. And that's, at the same time, they could put that down and restart it later. It wasn't like,
Right.
Yeah.
And they were going to eat that night, because it's a community. They had a communal system going there. I actually find a lot of arrowheads up on lookout points out in West Texas. You get up somewhere, and if you're sitting there looking around going, wow, this is a beautiful spot, start looking around, I always find signs of primitive, activity. And even one time, I don't know who I was with, but we went down in a canyon, and I said this would be an awesome spot to build a fire and, cook some food over this overhang, and it's by this nice little wash area. And as I'm digging, I start hitting charcoal. That's like 8 inches down. So it's from somebody else a long time ago.
That was
thought the same thing.
living the dream.
Living the dream.
Enjoying the same view.
I don't know. I mean,
we go camping now for recreation, right?
Right.
So like we live in these big nice houses, but then we go choose to basically live primitive lifestyles for fun or for recreation.
Rex, you had said something that made Russell say life is just a scam. Or how did we get on this? What point did you bring up? I mean, I want to beat this out further, but you ignited this.
I don't remember. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Well, we're talking about AI and modern life, the way it currently is, and like the way it's currently structured, with the economics of it.
Oh yeah, that's what it was. It was that the modern people's jobs would be eliminated by the simplest of AI, the AI that isn't going to kill us later.
Well, that's already happening now, starting with truckers, because self-driving vehicles, truckers is a big job. So
Well, the kiosks at McDonald's, think about that.
that's already That.
Oh
But-
yeah,
but
I
here's
remember
the
I went
cashier.
to there in Amsterdam the first time. It was I went to the human and said, I want to talk to the human. Anyway,
Well, a study was done. This is what I tell people when they ask me about those. And you can look it up. The study was done in England, and they tested those kiosks. 100% of those tested were tested positive for human fecal matter.
Ew.
So yeah, that's the downside to everyone up there going, Burger King.
So you need to don your glove before touching
Exactly,
this
take a
touch
glove.
screen.
But yeah, no, the key. Think about it. We want $15 an hour. Tell you what, there's a screen over there. We'll just.
Well, that's all happening in the back too. So like all the cooking and the preparation of the food, like that's all getting automated. So, McDonald's plan for minimum wage hikes is just to automate. Just get rid of the humans.
Sure. I just find it ironic that under your influence, I have become what you abhor.
What do you mean? What are you talking about?
Well, I mean, just
What do I abhor? That means I hate
you
something?
abhor people working.
Yeah.
That
what you described with such passion of the people that
Matt
He's
dislikes the common
stating
folk.
the obvious that he is your employee, Matt, and you're like, those people that get up and go work for someone else. Or no, I'm kidding. But there was a
it's
moment I thought
essentially- but
exactly
it's
that. I'm like, he's
just-
giving this rant in front of his
Well,
employee.
how many times do people get to have this conversation? The employer with the employee.
Oh no, but that's a
They're
remarkable
also-
thing because I think
you are
we're
close
friends as
friends.
well. But it's an interesting thing. That's it's funny because what you describe, it's just, and it's not because of you necessarily, but I'm just saying that I've actually gone. This is probably not something to have on a podcast.
No,
Let's
it's
talk
great.
about-
This is the juice. This is
Is
what
it?
this, it's like.
in a weird
Until
way,
now.
he's enabling you though also to live a very happy, comfortable life. Like,
Yeah, throw it out there. I want to hear everything. Let's go.
No, now he's getting defensive. No, I'm
No,
just,
really, I want to hear it because this is where you get somebody with conversation. If you're in an echo chamber, it's bullshit. I need to hear
it's just
what you're
therapy
saying.
behind a closed door, Rex. No one's listening.
Yes, but I'm just thinking maybe this isn't the best place to bring it up. But he wants to say,
Yeah, we're on a podcast.
it just occurred to me what you're describing is who I am, and I wasn't that 2 years
But
ago.
go back and what did I describe? Say it.
Basically a life of drudgery,
Is that what it is? Because it's not me to decide that. Is that what it is in you? Because if your life right now is a life of drudgery, me as an employer, I want to say, how can I help you step up through that? Because when I started, let me tell you something. I used to clean out septic tanks for a guy who barely had a truck that worked, and I worked for $5 an hour upside down. I didn't want to be there forever. And then he had to hold me by my legs and let me down into septic tanks to get tools that he would drop in there. He would drag me up the side of the tank and rip my arm open. Hydrogen peroxide would be foaming everywhere. Yeah, I've been through the crappiest job, literally.
Literally crap.
that
For those
you-
that don't know, septic tanks hold poop.
Yeah, so I've been in the shit. And then from there, I built fence, which is not glamorous. I hated that. 105
Getting
today.
sidetracked.
Well, I'm going somewhere. But I did those grueling jobs that I didn't like, and then I ended up working for a big oil field company as an engineer with the big phone on the side and dressing nice, and it was that. This is complete dead. It was a scam. I hated it. Now I'm not there, so I'm getting at. I had to change that, and if I have somebody working for me that's not on board and wants to do this and they want to do something else, I want to help them get there because I'm not going to be as effective of a machine unless all the troops on board believe in what we're doing. So that's where I'm coming from. I mean, if you're like, Matt, I'm dying, I don't want you to die.
At least not on my time anyway.
Yeah, not before you get your job done.
Well, you exactly. Don't die till 5:30.
What was 2 years ago? You're saying you were happier 2 years ago, or
now
you're
we're-
more happy now?
I'm just saying that my life was very different 2 years ago.
Did you work for him 2 years ago?
He's saying it's worse
It's
now.
different.
Perfect for.
Again, I don't know if it's just that as you're describing this, I'm going, well, crap. You were describing.
Well, that's good. Maybe this wakes you up and you go, Matt, I'm sorry I can't do this anymore, and I know what I want to do, that's going to bring me happiness.
If you quit,
Matt just fired me.
No.
on quantum bombs. I
If
just
you-
got fired.
if you quit, it's actually going to be because you took his own advice. You're like, you know what, Matt, I'm going to take your
And
advice and I'm
that's
going
the
to quit. I'm
paradox.
going to do something else.
That's the paradox of this, because I know that I'm shooting a hole in the bottom of my boat, but there's something more important. There's something more important than me just standing on top of a bunch of people going, yeah, I won capitalism. I love capitalism. I do. It works, but you got to be conscious about things. I think also there's a balance. And so the people within my organization that are coming up, if they find something else that has meaning somewhere else, I actually care about that because I want them to be on board. Not everybody is a hard charger that wants to be at the top. They're just not. Some people want to work from 8 to 5, go home. That's great. But at least that 8 to 5, find some enjoyment in it. And if you don't, then no hard feelings. You got to go. Bye, Rex.
All righty. Quantum bomb.
Oh, that would be funny. We just end the show like that.
Already.
People would be like,
Next
what?
week, Rex won't be here. We'll have a guest star.
We're gonna have a guest star. Rex started his own company.
Oh man, that's good stuff.
Well, it would be great, actually. I mean, if you were like, if you found something that just lit your fire and you said, I'm going to do this, and you became a multi-millionaire, why wouldn't I rejoice in your success?
My problem is I found what lit my fire, and it was 20 years ago, and I fizzled.
What was it?
Wah. There, I just whined on like.
Oh, good. Well, you know what? We all have a "woe is me" moment.
Well, there you go.
Not all the time on podcasts, but it's actually
Exactly.
people
Well,
do.
I
They
started
talk
it.
about their past "woe is me." You're having a present "woe is me." But what did you do that a long time ago that you loved?
I mean, that was the thing I was designed to do. The only thing I ever wanted to do when I was a kid.
Oh yeah, acting.
Well, specifically, it was the musical comedy, the comedy group that I was in.
Yeah.
And because when I was a kid, there's one thing I wanted to be. It was Spike Jonze. You guys don't even know who Spike Jonze is.
Act him out.
You can't. He would do song parodies of his age, and it was like, he would like shoot guns in the air and birds would fall down from the ceiling. It was I can play you some
I
of
think
it.
I remember, yeah.
Very famous, but I listened to that as a kid and it just blew my mind. And I said I want to do that. And essentially in my 20s, I was doing that.
Yeah.
And I like I usually do. I derailed it. And I went, you know what? Since then,
But there you said it, like I usually do. And
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just going to call that out.
That's
Call
a
it out.
limiting belief.
You gotta. I know, and I do it too. You're not. We all do it, but that's it. Like I usually do. It's like I said when somebody says, "I got the fly swatter out for this fly," they set it down. The fly shows up. I knew when I set this down, it was gonna fly up. You got to reprogram that. Your game's not over. Your calendar's not up, Rex. You have more days to do.
You know what? I've got some commercials I need to create for some stuff I'm producing, and you're going to be my quartet guy. And trust me, this commercials are all going to be heavily satirical and funny.
You
Now,
know,
not that that's going to change your life, but no, if I would do my job producing, I'd get us back on TV, and we'd have you singing quite a bit.
Matt just fired me and Beth just hired me, all within 10 minutes. This is
great.
We're
We're all
all
still
cycle of
together.
life. This is awesome.
But
Go ahead, Russ.
what are people supposed to do? Like, I mean, if you have a kid and they're like 18, they're just like, yeah, I don't know what to do with my life. It's like, it's the most difficult thing to figure out. There is no right answer, and it is the most difficult thing to try and
That's a great
Figure
adventure.
out.
And the answer is to follow do what your purpose in life
Yeah,
is.
okay,
What
there's-
is your purpose in life?
They
That's what you're
can't
asking,
find it.
right?
There's
Well,
the
it's got to
cl-
be your passion. And you're right. Some people don't know, but the problem with me or a lot of people is, well, your passion fades because you've already conquered it. So then you move on. And
it's not even that. It's worse than that. Like what you're like, that's a cliche. Is well, follow your passion. Well, my passion doesn't make money, like most people's don't. Like, so it's just like it's a dumb thing people say, but like, my passion isn't like, if you're going to university, my passion isn't a degree I could study, much less a job. So
I don't know. I think that's a limiting belief. I do think we're moving into an age where you can make money at almost
A lot of
anything.
stuff. Yeah, I would be
because
with
at the
you on
very
that.
least, you could be an airy fairy coach about your passion or something silly.
There's people that sold pet rocks, man.
I mean,
There was that one man, made $6 million.
Yeah, and that was a lot of money back then too.
Yeah.
It's a shame all of our passion isn't explosives.
All
Then
right.
we're
I
all
think.
just-
Are we going to conquer any other topics? We're pretty tired.
quantum.
Let's bomb this thing.
All right. Well, we'll see. Everybody tune in next week to see if Rex is still with us. You could follow me online at bethhagendorf.com. I'm sorry. No, don't. I canned that URL. See, we are tired, guys. Sorry. I'm at Beth Hagendorf on all platforms. You could check us out on quantumbombs.com.
I thought it was Beth.tv.
It is Beth.tv. That's how tired I am.
That's
If you
your
go,
website.
if you
And
go,
she's hungry.
Yes, that's my website, guys. You
if
could.
you find quantum bombs on Sphinx, I'll be trolling on there on the Quantum Bombs tribe.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. All right. Tune in next, guys. See if Rex is still here. Quantum Bombs.